Hey, boys and girls, we are going to be going over your answers for your problem set for Lesson 4, Module 6. And this will be found in your workbooks on pages 213 and 214. So we're going to get going. If at any time, as you're checking your work, yours differs from what's on the board, pause the video and kind of see why there's a difference there, okay? So if we look at number 1, the chart below shows the number of magazines sold by each student. So this is one way to do the chart. And then you see this graph down here, and you had to fill in your graph. But this was another way to show this data. They're both showing the same data, but this is in a bar graph form. So this is a chart. This was our bar graph. So I've already filled mine in. I labeled the students' names at the bottom. I've got Ben, Rachel, Jeff, Stanley, and Debbie. And then I did this by 100s because when I looked at the number of magazines sold, I noticed they were all either in 100 increments or by 100s or halfway through 100. So I chose to do it by 100s. Yours might be a little different, and that's okay. But I chose to do 100, so I've got 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and that's magazines sold. So down here tells which student, and here tells how many magazines were sold. And then we have the title of our bar graph, number of magazines sold by third grade students. So our first one is explain why you chose to use the scale that you used for the graph. And this is our scale, and I kind of just explained that, but I chose to have the scale by hundreds because all of the numbers go by hundreds or halfway between 100s because you have them all ending in zeros or 50, which is halfway between. So that's how I chose how to do my scale. And your scale, again, may be different. You may have chose a different way to do this. C is how many fewer magazines did Debbie sell than Ben and Stanley combined? So the first thing I'm going to have to do is figure out how many Ben and Stanley sold together. So Ben and Stanley, Ben sold 300, Stanley sold 450. So together, Ben and Stanley sold 750 magazines. Now, in order to solve this, I have to take the 750 that Ben and Stanley sold and subtract it from how many Debbie sold. So 750 minus 600 equals 150. So Debbie sold 150 fewer magazines than Ben and Stanley combined. So check your work on that. And then my next one is how many more magazines did Debbie and Jeff sell than Ben and Rachel? And this one's done very similar to C, except I do have to find Debbie and Jeff's total, and then I have to find Ben and Rachel's total. So D and J means Debbie and Jeff. And it should be 600 plus 100. I have an equal sign there. That's my mistake. 600 plus 100 equals 700. So Debbie and Jeff sold 700 magazines. And then B and R means Ben and Rachel. And they sold 300 plus 250, which equals 550 magazines. So I'm going to take those two numbers and subtract them. 700 minus 550 equals 150. So Debbie and Jeff sold 150 more magazines than Ben and Rachel. So check your work on that, and if you need to pause the video at any time, feel free. And I'm going to go on to the next page. So now we're on page 214. So number 2 is the bar graph shows the number of visitors to a carnival from Monday through Friday. So again, here's our scale, number of visitors. Our title is Carnival Visitors, and then it has our days at the bottom labeled. So A says, how many fewer visitors were there on the least busy day than on the busiest day? So our least busiest day is going to be Thursday, and our busiest day will be Wednesday. So I've labeled those. Least busy, we had about 190. And if you notice that little dotted line going through, it's so close to that line to the 200, but there's still that tiny little space. So that's 190. And then our busiest day would be 430. And if you notice these little notches, those are counting by 10. So 400, 410, 420, 430. Same way down here. 150, 160, 170, 180, 190 for the least busy. And then up here, it would be 430 visitors for the busiest day. So now I have to do my subtraction. 430 minus 190. Well, 0 plus 0 is 0. Now, to take 3 from 9, yes, you can do it like that, but it would be a negative number, and this isn't going to be a negative number. So I'm going to have to borrow from my 4. So my 4 now becomes a 3, and I'm borrowing 10 from that. So then my 3 becomes a 13. So 13 take away 9 is 4, and 300 minus 100 is 200. So my answer will be 240. So there were 240 fewer visitors on the least busy day than the busiest day. So check your work on that. And you could have solved that a subtraction problem a little differently than I did. And then B is how many more visitors attended the carnival on Monday and Tuesday combined than on Thursday and Friday combined. So we're going to have to add Monday and Tuesday together, and then add Thursday and Friday together, and then subtract. So on Monday and Tuesday, there were 340 plus 300, which would be 640 visitors. And then on Thursday and Friday, there were 190 on Thursday and 370 visitors on Friday. So that equals a total of 560 visitors. And now we have to find the difference. So 640 minus 560 equals 80. So the difference is 80 people or 80 visitors. So if you had trouble with any of that, let your teachers know. If you need to fix anything in your workbook, go ahead. And don't forget to do your exit ticket on page 215 and snap a picture of that and turn that in.